Okay, what's going on, LBHT crew and the Ring Kings crew? What we are doing a crossover show. Now, let's be real. You know, most of the fans, there's a lot of overlay there. There's a lot of overlapping with the fan base there. But yeah, man. Look, we have some new developments in the Brian Flores case that we felt like we need to cover. It came out after the show yesterday, so we wanted to cover that. And then man, just a lot going on in the boxing world, man. We wanted to do a lot more for the Ring Kings channel, but now we have the opportunity. There's a lot of matches coming up, so we thought it was a good time to do a little simulcast. So if you're watching on Lunch Break Hot Take, welcome. We're also streaming live over on Ring Kings. What's up, Matt Williams? So if you're not subscribed to Ring Kings, go over there and subscribe to Ring Kings as well. All right.
What's up, Andre Mears?
What's up, Andre? Thanks for coming through. Yes. So yeah, man. Let's get a couple things out the way. Make sure you're following both platforms, okay? YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok at LBHT Show, and Ring Kings Pod. Okay, Ring Kings Pod. Now, in fact, I'll put that up for you guys so you can see that as well. All right, at Ring Kings Pod, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, at Ring Kings Pod. We're also on TikTok. All right, so follow us over there. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We have a couple of goals for both channels. We're trying to get to 1,000 over here on a Lunch Break Hot Take. We're trying to hit 100 over on Ring Kings Pod. All right, then 200, then 1,000. All right. So what we got here? Oh, look at Jalen. Thanks for coming through, Jalen. Ravens online on Gatekeepers. That's Ring Kings LBHT crossover event. I love it. Yes, I know. It's a little pop-up show. But yeah. We have done a show before on Brian Flores found a lawsuit. It's important to us. We don't think black head coaches get a fair shake. Well, it's not a thing. We know they don't get a fair shake. That's just been proven. And there's speculation as to whether there are going to be any more coaches signing on to this lawsuit. I thought they absolutely would. And Steve Wilks is actually one of the people that we named as a strong candidate. And turns out Steve Wilks, Ray Horton, they joined the lawsuit, and man, they have a story to tell.
Yeah. I think we all know what it is. Mike, you're muted there. You can go ahead and unmute.
I got a crying kid here, so I want to.
He's doing showmanship here. Okay, he has good show presence.
I just didn't know if you do. Steve Wilks was the Carolina Panthers defensive coordinator under Ron Rivera for a year. He got the Arizona Cardinals head coaching job, and they gave him Josh Rosen, even though he said trade up and get Josh Allen. They said we're going to stay put and get Josh Rosen, and then they fired him after a year. And then they went and hired a coach who had just recently been fired in college, let him draft another quarterback number 1 overall, even though they just took one in the top 10, and have kept him around for a few years, even though they collapse at the end of every season. Right. Along with that, their GM, Steve Keim, got a DUI, and he didn't get fired. He got a 5-week suspension in the middle of the season. So, I mean,
was it in the middle of the season or was it in the off season? Because from what I read, maybe I misunderstood it. He got arrested in the middle of the season, right? And then he got suspended in the off season, I believe.
I should have checked. I thought he got suspended at the beginning of the season.
So what I read, and this is part of Steve Wilks' complaint, was that he was out for a big portion of the offseason. So he wasn't able to take part in the rookie evaluation and all that stuff.
Right.
But also even though while he was suspended, he managed to get the David Johnson deal done. Right. Like that was the thing. It was David Johnson, was saying how he felt confident a deal would get done, even though Steve Keim was not around. And then as soon as Steve Keim came back, like a day after he came back off suspension, they got they got the deal signed, meaning they were in contact that whole time. They were working on something that whole time.
So it looks like he was arrested and charged on July 4th, and they announced the suspension on July 17th.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So a little before the season, but not, I mean, it was after the draft and whatnot, in the midst of that second wave of free agency and going to training camp and all that.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So he got arrested on July 4th. Like that's
Yeah.
when he announced it. Okay.
He arrested on July 4th and announced the suspension on July 17th.
And the other thing that was tweeted out, I can't remember the person that tweeted it, was that Wilks had claimed that he wanted them to trade up to get Josh Allen.
Yeah.
And wait, did Josh Allen go before or after Rosen?
He went before. They the Bills had traded up to get him. Josh Rosen ended up going 10th to Arizona.
Yeah. So okay. So yeah, they stayed put and got Rosen instead of trading up to get.
What's going on, Danity?
What's up, Danity? And what's going on, Nitro?
Nitro?
He said guilty. So I mean, but to me, that is very telling, right? You have a brand new head coach, and he says, "This is a quarterback that I want you to get. We're in a better position than the Bills are to trade up and get Josh Allen. Let's go and get Josh Allen. That's a quarterback I want." And they said, "No, we're going to give you Josh Rosen, a quarterback that you don't want." Mm-hmm. And one season is a bad season, yes. They got to a slow start. Your GM wasn't there for a big portion of the offseason because he's suspended. And you're like, okay, you're fired. And then you get a failed college coach to come in. And he says, yeah, I know you just spent a first-round pick on a quarterback, but I'm not taking this job unless you let me spend another first-round pick on the quarterback that I want. And you said done. Like that's, I mean,
shady,
that's
at its
shady.
finest.
Yeah, but not let Wilks pick his own coaching staff either. Yeah, right. Yeah. So I mean,
just to Danny said they gave him no say because they wanted him to fail. And
exactly.
At the time, I even looked at it and looked at a couple of other coaches this way as well. Like, oh well, that was the token black hire. The league said, hey, Arizona, you're gonna have to hire a black coach this year. Mm-hmm.
It's the David Kelly before the David Kelly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Houston with David Culley, outperformed expectations with that dumpster fire of a roster they have in Houston, and didn't allow him to have Deshaun Watson at all, and fired.
Fired, yeah.
And it's something you've kind of seen over the last few years, where it seems like the league's trying to head off any criticism. They don't want offseason to go by with a headline saying that no black coaches were hired. And to the other coach who joined the lawsuit, Ray Horton. Yeah. He was given an interview for the Tennessee Titans job that eventually went to Mike Mularkey. And Mike Mularkey himself has come out and said that the team told him that he was the guy before they did that interview. He's coming out now and saying he's ashamed of being a part of that. He knew it was wrong then, but obviously he didn't say anything. And I mean, honestly, I'm not going to blame Mularkey too much. Like, he wants to be a head coach, right? Like, you want to take that job. But he has come out publicly and said that that's the way that went down, and that violates the Rooney Rule. You do have to actually perform these interviews before making a hiring decision. So they're another team in the league that we can now know for a fact is not following the Rooney Rule.
Yeah. Real quick, shout out to Don C, who's driving responsibly. Says, Jose, Brodny, Mike, I dropped a like. I'm driving, but I'm listening. Guys, have a great stream. Appreciate you, Don C.
Don.
And drive safe. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes. Thank you very much.
Definitely drive safe, bro.
Yeah. And Danny's right. Mike Mularkey spilled all the tea. Yeah. And and like he said, I respect the fact that he came out and said something, because most coaches would not only not say anything, but they'll deny it. Categorically deny it. Man, I can't speak today. He would deny it. Okay. Yeah. So I respect that he came out and said something, and that builds a very strong case for Ray Horton. Mm-hmm. That builds a very strong case for this lawsuit overall.
Right. Yeah. Please, NFL, find a way to deny this, but because I mean, not only do you have the guy who got the job coming out and saying it was some backdoor shit going on. I mean, I don't know how they're going to spin this one, but I think this is the strongest case that we've seen so far, pretty much. Yeah. I mean, everything else is kind of, it's speculation, but this is ironclad in my opinion. So we'll see how they spin it.
I mean, he's got it on. It's on audio, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know when that podcast came out, when that episode came out.
That was in 2020.
2020. So 2 years ago, and that 2 years he's never refuted what he said. It's not like he walked back anything. So that holds up, right? That's a strong testimony, and not to say that he'll change his mind, walk it back now, but even if he tried to, man, you put it out there and you didn't try to correct yourself at any point in 2 years. Like you said what you said. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, no, go ahead, B. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say up until now, I haven't seen it. If they've said anything here recently, but the league had no comment on Horton and Wilks joining the lawsuit. I imagine they're kind of circling the wagons at the moment, trying to figure out, hey, how are we as a unified front going to deny and fight the lawsuit moving forward? Because everything that comes out makes it look worse. I am glad that these guys joined the lawsuit, as opposed to Hugh Jackson, who was just kind of trying to get his name out there a little bit more and immediately walked back what he had to say.
Hugh Jackson almost single-handedly brought this thing down. Right?
Yep.
Just I mean,
he was the worst. Hugh is the worst. But yeah, no, I mean, look, I know there's no smoking gun, as it were, in the Steve Wilks case, but I mean, it's pretty damning as well that you hire a head coach and you give him 1 year with a historically bad rookie quarterback. I believe they had Mike Glennon and Sam Bradford were the other quarterbacks on that roster. There was zero chance that they were ever going to win any games in Arizona that year. So so it makes it obvious that, hey, this is, we don't want this guy to be our coach. We're gonna bide our time for a year, get him out of here, and go hire the coach that we really want.
Yeah. There was also something from Brian Flores, right? He added something to the lawsuit about having communicated to the GM. I want to say maybe the VP of operations or something about Stephen Ross, the owner of the Dolphins, just constantly asking him to lose games and how he felt like it was just hurting the culture at with the Dolphins. I wanted to find the exact quote, but it's just more evidence of documentation. I would say that at the very least you have a coach complaining, hey, this guy's asking me to lose games, right? What I'd like to see is the communication from that end, right? What did the GM say? What did other staff say in response to Brian Flores saying this stuff? And there was that reporter that said there are other eyewitnesses that heard Stephen Ross say this to Brian Flores, that he would pay him $100K per game or whatever. Right. So I mean, look, man, and none of it is far-fetched. I believe all of it, and I believe there's even more dirt that these coaches, if more coaches join this lawsuit, right? Jim Caldwell, right? There are more coaches that can join this lawsuit and give even more dirt. I'm surprised that the NFL hasn't reached out and tried to just settle it right now, like squash it right now. I know Brian Flores got a job with the Steelers. I really thought that the league would come together and be like, yo, get this man a head coaching job so he can shut up, please.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if they knew this was coming down the pike at one point in time, or some point in time, and then they dropped what you guys talked about, I guess a couple weeks ago with the now you got to hire a minority or a woman on the offensive staff. I wouldn't be surprised if this was some type of BS,
like response to it.
Yeah, response to try to get ahead of this because they knew this was coming down.
It's like the league trying to separate itself from itself.
Yep.
Right? Like, hey, the NFL front office is saying, man, we are all about diversity. We're trying to get these minority coaches in there. We're trying to get female coaches in there. But man, them owners over there, they don't want to do it. Right. Like, but that's what it is. You are yourself, right? Like the people that you're talking about who are refusing to hire minorities, refusing to hire women, and are discriminating in their hiring practices are the league.
That's the sad thing about it, right? Because like you have the owners. Look, Roger Goodell is he's the general manager of the league, essentially, right? That's what the commissioner is. He's in charge of running the league, but the owners are his bosses. He can't fire them. He can't make them do anything. But he recognized this is a problem. You got everybody under him, all the execs that are telling these owners, you have to change this culture. You have to change this, and they're just like, "Nah, we'll do what we want. Figure something out." Right. So this is them trying to figure something out. So
yeah, it's them, trying to get him. Basically, he's the face, right? So they're telling him to make it go away. You know what I mean? You find a way to make this go away.
We're gonna do what we want to do. We're gonna make whatever statements we want to make, and we pay you, $40-some million a year to make sure that this doesn't come back.
Right. So this is really your problem, buddy, is what they're saying, what they're telling him. But it's a shame, man. And listen, I'm with you, Jose. I believe everything, but even for those skeptics, everybody's not lying, right? You just don't pull these stories out of nowhere.
Nope.
Right now, that one, it seems like in this bunch, it was my man that went to Hugh, right?
Yeah.
That might have been the one in this bunch, but you had, like with Ray Horton, you had Malarkey and then Steve Wilks. We seen what happened with that 1 year and gone, right? I'm waiting for David Culley to hop on this because I'm pretty sure they have a nice comfy seat next to them for him to jump on this lawsuit. Like you said, Jim Caldwell. So listen, not everybody's lying or fudging these stories, and I got these guys being, stand-up guys. I mean, it's time for somebody to step up and do it. And shout out to Flores for doing it. Shout out to Mike Tomlin. Jose, we were talking about this earlier. Shout out to Mike Tomlin for giving Brian Flores a job, because we know if that wouldn't have happened, he probably wouldn't be working right now because of all of this. So
Jim Caldwell got fired after a winning season.
Well, not just after a winning season. He was a Super Bowl winning offensive coordinator.
Yes,
he took the Colts
a team to the
Super Bowl, and then he went to Detroit and has been the only successful head coach in Detroit. And on top of that, you have Peyton Manning on record saying that Caldwell took his game to another level. You have Matt Stafford on record saying that that he took his game to another level. You can see in Matt Stafford's case those were the best years of his career, and it's an offense-heavy league. Everybody is looking for offensive coaches. Everybody is looking for guys who can develop quarterbacks, and nobody is even talking to Jim Caldwell. Brian Daboll did a great job in Buffalo. I'm not saying he didn't. I'm not saying he didn't deserve to get a head coaching job. But if that was the thing that kind of got him in that seat in New York, which is what they said, they wanted somebody to develop Daniel Jones and make sure that pick doesn't turn out as bad as it looks. Why would you not call Jim Caldwell?
Right.
But
right.
The Giants are one of the many teams in the NFL who have never had a black head coach.
That's crazy. Shout out to Keelan. I'm gonna bring up his comment again. Shout out for the tip. Appreciate that. He says, "Did y'all know all the black coaches in the NFL essentially stem from Dungy? Somebody broke it down, and all the black coaches in the NFL come directly from his tree or someone who came from his tree. People rightfully hold these owners and GMs' feet."
That's crazy.
Yeah. Look, most of them. I don't think all of them. Well, not all of them. I don't know all of them because the first black head coach came from Al Davis. Was it Art Shell? Was he the first black head coach?
Yeah,
I think he was technically the first black head coach.
He was one of them. I'm not sure if he was the first, but he was very close to.
He was the first black head coach, and Al Davis also brought in the first black quarterback, I believe.
Yeah.
I think So
I don't know. Is he talking about currently? Because that won't be hard to cross reference because not many there.
But he's absolutely right. A lot of them did come from the Tony Dungy tree. Yeah. That's for sure. That's for sure.
It's not a small tree. It's Dungy and I mean, well, Dungy. I mean, Mike Tomlin was under who?
He came from Minnesota. I'm not sure where he was prior to that.
Tomlin worked under what's that dude's name? Lynn? the defensive coordinator.
Oh, Anthony, not
Not
Anthony.
Anthony Lynn,
No,
something.
Leslie Frazier.
Leslie. Oh, Leslie Frazier. Yeah. Leslie
Right,
Frazier.
okay.
And Leslie Frazier was under Dungy,
Right.
I believe. Yes. Oh, and shout out to Anonymous. Thank you for the donation.
Thank you.
Marvelous and outstanding work, brothers. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
But yeah. I mean, look, but that's why I think they try to limit who gets these jobs, because they don't want us opening up doors for other coaches to walk through, which is nonsense, right? Because you're trying to compete. And you're trying to compete, you want to get the best coaches and players. I mean, you do it on the field most of the time, right? Like do it, do it in the coaching staff in the front office. And shout out to Keelan here. Excuse me. Okay, this is a continuation from his last one. Hold their feet to the fire, but nobody is going after these white coaches who refuse to hire black coaches to their staff. Excuse me. And set them up to get experience, to get head coaching jobs in the league. These white coaches only hire white guys they know. Yeah,
and that's why we appreciate all, even with all his flaws, appreciate what Bruce Arians does. Is he makes it a point and loudly, not just doing it. He tells everybody what he's doing and why. And hiring black coaches to important positions on his staff. He's got Todd Bowles, Byron Leftwich. I'm not sure who these special teams coordinators right now, but they're black as well. And he's always been outspoken about the fact that those guys, black or minority coaches, don't really get a shot in the NFL. And he's been on record saying you need to know a white guy, and he's like, I'll be the white guy for you.
Right. I mean, just what he did. I mean, even
what's going on, Eric? I'm sorry.
With Todd Bowles, like, hey,
yeah,
I know Todd is gonna get another job, but chances are it would be for a team that's not that great, which then in return the microscope is on him, and he gets 2.5 years to try to turn around a team where in most cases people would give more time than that. So hey, listen, I'm gonna give you the cards to this Bentley right now. So you take this, these keys, and man, and do what you want to do with this. Is your car. So, and I think that's dope too. That he
and what he did was smart too. And Byron Leftwich was already getting interviews, right? He's the offensive coordinator of a Super Bowl winning team. And he went far again last year. They'll probably go far again this year. He's in a better situation to get an opportunity. Todd Bowles being on the defensive side isn't going to get the same opportunities. So here, like you said, take over this team. And if they have success, which they will, they have success. He gets to keep that job, and he's set. And Byron Leftwich is still set to go and get another head coaching job. He could have had one this year from what we've heard.
But good for him for standing firm and saying, I'm not going to work for that clown Trent Baalke. I'll wait and get another opportunity.
Absolutely.
That would have been a quick out for Byron, most likely.
Yeah. So that's a good setup. I'm hoping that's what's going on with Eric Bieniemy in Kansas City. I hope that they keep him around long enough to where Andy Reid says, all right, I'm gonna call it a career. Bieniemy, you take over. I don't know, but I hope that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
That's another odd situation too, but that could be probably a whole show's worth of conversation. But it's to be the hottest candidate for 3 years in a row, and you don't come away with the job, is something to that. And I think, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if his name ends up on this lawsuit. Because it's something, I mean, little things are trickling out, right? Like the rumor is that when Denver interviewed him, Denver wanted him to like show him his playbook, right?
Right.
And he's like, I'm not showing you anything until I got a job, right? So, it's like those type of things. I wouldn't be surprised if we see his name on this lawsuit as well.
And that's one of those things. how often does a coach have to show a GM the playbook?
Right.
What do they know about X's and O's, yo?
Bro, we play you twice a year. You know what I do.
Yeah, I wrote that.
That's why I'm here to begin with.
Yeah,
because you know what I do.
You know what I do.
Yeah, it's with Eric, and you had the fan site attempt with their attempted character assassination during the season this year, talking about, he doesn't get along with Pat and he's a bad interview and he's actually not very good at his job and blah blah blah. I mean, it's disgusting, honestly.
That's a perfect term. It's character assassination, right? There's no evidence to back up anything they're saying. I saw that fan fiction that one site wrote, and that's what all it is fan fiction. They can't substantiate any of that. The team won't substantiate any of that. And it's just BS. Even if some of that were true, that should not be a reason why he didn't get a head coaching job. There are plenty of coaches who don't interview well, who don't get along with the players, and they still end up getting head coaching jobs. Adam Gase is a perfect example. What's up, Shaheen? Thanks for coming through, man.
And Matt Patricia.
Jim Tom Sula, right? You guys remember Tom Sula?
Hey, I think Jim got along with the players. He just didn't know what he was doing.
He just, he didn't know. Yeah, you can't understand anything he said.
Dan Campbell, you will never convince me that Dan Campbell is as well. I mean, I'm a fan of the guy. Like, he seems like a real players coach. He seems to really connect with and care about his players. They played really hard for him, but you will never convince me that he went into a room with a billionaire and impressed them.
Right.
No.
Right.
No. So
yeah. I mean, that's it. But listen, back to being the hottest candidate. So listen, even if you don't interview well, right? You still seen the work that I put out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking for somebody to change your offensive culture, whatever, I think in some cases, even for people like that, their work speaks for itself. So it's like, in 3 years, somebody would have taken a chance on him, even if he is a bad interview. You know what I mean? But I'm not buying that because that's the number one thing they go to. If you guys remember back when Patrick Ewing was the hot candidate in the NBA.
Yes.
An assistant. He would get interviews and like he would never come away with any jobs. And it's like, yo, what's going on? Like even the Knicks had an opening, they didn't take it. And that's the first thing they say, he must be a bad interview. Why?
They always say that for it only applies to black coaches. You never hear anything about a white coach being a bad interview. They just get the job and show that they're just a bad coach.
Right. and again, go to your point, B. You said Dan Campbell. I'm gonna piggyback off of what you said, Jose. Adam Gase. You're not going to tell me he impressed anybody.
Right.
Especially after being fired from his first job.
Yeah.
And players openly speaking out against him.
Like, what's the point of an interview, right? Like you put out hey, we got a job available. Here are the qualifications. Come in for an interview. It's so that you can convince somebody that you can do the job, right?
Yeah.
You don't need to do that in the NFL. They see you every week. They know you.
See, right.
They know what Airbnb does. Like you're saying, you see what I do. You see that I've had the number one offense in every respect over the last 4 years. Interview for what?
Right. And you have to ask for permission to interview me. So it's not like I can apply for your job.
Thank you.
You have to call. You have to call my current employer and say, "Hey, can we talk to Eric because we think he'll be a good fit here." So
you know what is and Danny's absolutely right. A code for not being intelligent, correct? Yeah. But what you reminded me of, right? That and it absolutely applies. If you look at baseball, when you see these Japanese players who are thinking about coming over to the MLB, it's not come try out. It's what I can do. Yep. So you send my team a check, and then they'll let you talk to me, and then I'll tell you how much money you got to give me.
Right. Yeah. That might we have to adapt that in the NFL. Like that is they don't play with that. Yes, you're gonna write a check to talk to me. We're not. We're not agreeing to anything. That just lets you come and sit down with me. And they do it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think the next person that will go through this, unfortunately, will be Leftwich. And I think what's going on, what these owners aren't liking, I think Bieniemy, I think Leftwich showed it this year. We just heard about it. But I think they're going into these interviews and they're saying, listen, I'm interested in the job, but this is what I need to succeed.
Yeah.
And if you can't give me this, then I don't want to be considered. I don't want to work with this person. If I'm coming in here, I don't want to work with Bulky or whoever the case may be. Or I'm not no John Elway. I'm not going to show you my playbook before you give me the job. I'm not going to do it. So
and you know what?
They have demands, and these owners don't like that.
Well, yeah, and that's another thing too, right? Like every coach comes in there having those demands. Like you get these coaches coming straight out of college talking about they want to have control over the roster and all this stuff. It's just
put the name on it. You talking about Matt Rule? It's fine.
But it's not just a Matt Rule thing though. Like every coach does that. We just talked about earlier. What's the name with the Cardinals coming in after being fired? Kingsbury, after being fired from his job in college, coming into an NFL, a pro team, is saying, I'm not taking the job unless you give me Kyler Murray. I want Kyler Murray number one. The nerve.
Yeah.
Right? The nerve. But they do that stuff all the time. But it's only when it's the black candidate where, oh, you should just be able to just be happy with getting the job. No, man. No.
You know, and going back to the good interview, bad interview thing, right? How do you have a good interview if you're a coach who has been fired from a head coaching job, then got fired from your next offensive coordinator job, and then walked out on your next team who actually did hire you, right? You're Josh McDaniels. You got fired in Denver because you did a terrible job. You went to the Rams, which is away from Papa Bill, and you were awful and got fired in 1 year. You went back to New England to rehabilitate your image. Okay, that worked. You get the interview with the Colts. They give you the job, and then you walk out on them at the press conference. How does that guy have a good interview? How is that possible?
I'm curious. Like, how do you answer that question?
Yeah.
Hey, so you had this job with the Colts, and you just didn't show up to a press conference. Can you explain what happened there?
It was my understanding that we were not going to talk about that.
Right.
I'd like to move on.
I mean, real talk, but why is he even a candidate? Like, I wouldn't trust that.
No. When that happened, I thought that would be the one thing. I was like, there's no chance anybody will talk to him again after he walked out on the Colts like that. It took 2 years.
Yeah. I thought he would end up being a coach in waiting in New England because that's the only place that knows who he is. That's clearly where he wanted to be. So I'm like, okay, that would probably be his step as an NFL head coach. But for anybody to even want to talk to him after that is, nah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, essentially the NFL is on the Negro. You should be grateful. Stop being uppity energy. Yeah. But that's what it is. That's what it is. And they get a lot of people to co-sign that. But we not having it here. Okay, all right. That's the NFL side. That was the NFL side of it. Now we get into the Ring King side.
It's gonna be amazing. You're going to a different channel and you don't have to go anywhere.
Yes.
Right where you are.
But look, if you're watching on Ring Kings, hit that like button. If you're new, hit the subscribe. If you're on the Lunch Break Hot Take channel, go over to Ring Kings and hit subscribe real quick. You can, if you want to stay there, you can stay there. If you want to come back to Lunch Break Hot Take, you can do that too. But we are simulcasting on both channels, and tell your friends. But if you're a boxing fan, stay right here. If you're not a boxing fan, that's fine. Hang out anyway. Okay.
Yeah. So we're going to be getting a lot busier on this channel. This is the start of a very, very busy month in boxing. You got Errol Spence against Ugas next weekend. We got Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor coming up. You got Shakur Stevenson against Valdez coming up. We got Canelo obviously against Bivol early next month for the Cinco de Mayo fight. But we are here to talk about the fights this weekend.
Yes.
That is Triple G, Gennady Golovkin, coming back after almost a 2-year layoff. He's going to be fighting Ryoto Murata, Japanese champion. And there's also going to be the return of King Ryan Garcia. He's coming back against Emmanuel. I believe it's Tagoe, a Ghanaian fighter who, he's been out since the end of 2020 as well. I believe he was actually kind of, semi-retired, but they were looking for a soft landing spot for Ryan in his comeback. So
yeah, Ryan, you guys know Ryan's my boy. So I'm looking forward to seeing him get back. But
That's right.
King Rye, baby, yeah, that's the guy, man. Hey, but we were supposed, because the episode we did about Ryan Garcia earlier on this channel, we found out there were more Ryan Garcia haters than I thought. I thought that we would get the hate from the Garcia clan.
I did too.
Yeah, and it went the opposite way. So okay, I'll take.
I thought we were gonna get the riot hive.
Yeah, the riot hive.
What's up, Matty Gunner? Ryan Garcia, the dude from Instagram. He fights.
Yeah.
I thought we would get the riot hive, man. But yeah, no, the live people they feel the same way we feel about it, man. You know what it is? We have a boxing channel and you have boxing fans, right?
Mm-hmm.
His fans are on Instagram.
They're Instagram.
Like in TikTok. Like they're not really boxing fans necessarily.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what it is. So boxing fans aren't really feeling them. But look, no. Go ahead, finish your thought, Mikey, because I finish your thought. I had some thoughts on this fight, man.
No, I mean, listen, I expect him to have a good showing, right? Both of these fighters had long layoffs, but this guy, Tagoe was handpicked, obviously. He had some other fights on the table. Actually some people that he called out, like Pitbull.
Incredible performance, calling everyone out and then running to the retired Ghanaian fighter.
Right. And then saying, those guys, especially with Pitbull, saying that they wouldn't accept the contract, and then Pitbull's manager saying, yeah, I sent it to you. Maybe they're not showing it to you, but I sent it. So it's there. But I expect him to have a good showing. And if he doesn't, then I think this might be the downfall to King Ra.
Listen, he better have a good showing.
Yeah,
I would expect him to win this fight. I would expect him, like you, to win impressively. That it's a handpicked fight. Now he has had a long layoff. There may be some rust that he needs to knock off, but he should go out there and like I said, win impressively in this return fight.
New trainer, new camp. So it's we should see a different Ryan Garcia. That's what
Listen, I feel like Ryan Garcia said, "You get a can of tomatoes to go get it." That's a good one. A can of tomatoes to go. Listen.
Coming through with the dad jokes.
I feel like there's a hint of boxing entertainment going on here, right? Boxing what's boxing entertainment? I coined that phrase. You haven't heard it anywhere. You heard it here first on Ring Kings podcast. Boxing entertainment. That is of the Jake and Logan Paul variety. Okay, I don't think this is a real fight, guys. I don't think you had all this time to get your mind right. You had a layoff. There's a ton of fighters that you could have picked, right, as a tune-up. You got a guy that's done boxing. He done with it. Just look, man, I'm good. You're not getting somebody that decides, hey, I'm done with this. You're not going to get him to come out of retirement to fight you unless there's an understanding. Hey, man, look, we's going go out there, basically a sparring match, a couple rounds, and you fall down, easy check. Everybody wins, right? Not saying it's gonna be like the sideshow, like those other, the Paul brother fights and all that stuff, but it's definitely understood. This is gonna go a few rounds, and if you want to fall down and get that easy money, I ain't gonna be mad at it.
No. This is Ryan's handlers saying we don't know what's going on with this guy.
Yeah,
we're not sure where his head is at. We don't believe in him really at this moment. He's got all this skill, but as I said, he got dropped in his last fight, and it seems to have affected him. He's calling all these people out who he really doesn't want to fight. So we're gonna go and find. One of his managers said it. He wants a softer fight. When they were talking about guys like Tank, and we want a softer fight for him to come back. So I think they went out and they found the softest fight they could possibly find, and they told the guy, hey, it is an easy check. You don't even. Yeah, he doesn't have to train or anything like that. He can just come back. We're going to pay you however much we're going to pay you for this one last fight. And they're trying to gauge where Ryan is at.
Yeah,
there are fights where it's understood. I watched it not too long ago. What I can't remember what card it was under, but it was a DAZN fighter. It was two brothers that were fighting on that card, right? I'm sorry, I can't remember their names. But the one fighter, pretty big deal. The other one just started. I think they were twins, I want to say. The one, I think that might be his debut fight. And the guy that he was fighting had a lot more experience. And it could have been a much a much more serious fight if the other fighter wanted to take it there. But I think it was understood, hey, debut fighter for this guy, you're gonna make him look good. You're gonna give him some work, but you're gonna make him look good. And that's what the fighter did. And I think that's what's going on here. It's, hey, Ryan Garcia, you're gonna give him a little bit of work, but you're gonna make him look good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you can pick certain fights, right, where you're gonna get exactly what you just said without it even being said. All right.
Yes.
This guy doesn't match his skill level. At least he shouldn't. Right. So, put him out there. You want him to have a good showing. Ideally, Oscar and Golden Boy, the team, they would like to see him a knockout, and then this springboards his name back out there. And then, it is what it is. It becomes him calling out Tank again and those type of guys.
But not really fighting anybody, though.
Yeah.
So give Ryan the Instagram franchise belt for this one.
Is that a real belt? Or is that an NFT?
But I mean, both of the names that we have on the marquee, right? I expect Triple G to make do with that quickly, and I expect Garcia to make do with that quickly. We'll see, man. I you guys know me. I dream of him fighting Tank. I see Matt Williams said Tank would have killed him in the ring hands down, and I dream of that fight.
Tank is getting ready to fight Raleigh Romero.
Yeah.
He's gonna murder Raleigh, and Ryan is never gonna get in the ring with him.
Yeah.
Man, this doesn't. No matter what Ryan Garcia does in this fight, this does not tell me Ryan Garcia is back. I still feel like he's on the boxing entertainment train 100%, because you don't go and try to do exhibition matches with Manny Pacquiao, who's an active fighter, who was a champion, right? Like you say, hey, let's do an exhibition fight. No, like, you're a professional, I'm a professional. Let's fight for real. Never fighting Tank. NFT, never fight Tank. That's like Ryan Garcia. Like, I mean, I see some videos where he's calling out Jake Paul. They're going back and forth. Like, he's not interested in being a pro fighter. He's interested in being pro entertainment, right?
And we're making jokes about him, but that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Like,
no, there's nothing wrong with it.
It's a rough business and a rough life.
Hey, we're gonna watch it.
Yeah.
To comment on the Triple G fight, I don't think it's gonna be as easy as you're saying there, Mikey. Murata's he's a solid fighter. He has some power. I wouldn't say great power, but he has some power. He's got long arms. He's got about a 5-inch reach advantage on Triple G. He's a little stiff. Not a lot of head movement. Doesn't have fast hands. Doesn't have fast feet. He's not a guy who's going to dance around the ring or anything. Like, he's coming forward. He's trying to hurt people. Right. He's 16-2. He lost a unanimous decision to Rob Brandt and a split decision to, I'm not going to say this right, but Hassan and Jakum. But he came back in the very next fight and knocked both those guys out. So he avenged both those knockouts.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and you know, Triple G hasn't fought since the end of 2020. He's 40 years old. I'm not, you know, father time catches up to everybody, right? I don't think Murata's a guy who's going to get out of the way of Triple G's punches, but he may not need to. He's going to come forward. He's going to start throwing. He's got a nice left hook to the body. He's going to start throwing with bad intentions, and he might be able to hurt Triple G. If he does, we're going to have an upset. If he can't hurt him, I mean, he's might have a short night, but I'm just saying, and I wouldn't be so sure. I'm feeling the upset in this one. I'm feeling the upset on this one.
So you're gonna make me get up at 7:30 in the morning to watch this fight?
Is it 7:30? All right,
at 7:30 in the morning.
I meant to look at the time.
Listen,
7:30 rough.
Listen, I'm just gonna say it, man. I think this is gonna be very similar to Ryan Garcia. I think it's make Triple G look good because we got a bigger. Triple G is going to be fighting Canelo after this, right? It's set.
It's not set yet. It's not set yet. You know, he has to win and Canelo has to win. But Murata is not. He's not a walkover guy. He's a champion. He's a real fighter.
He is a champion. Yeah.
Listen, it's about making money, right? That's an easy check to write to Murata to say.
And guess how Murata makes his money? By beating Triple G.
Yeah.
But now they don't look. I don't know who his promoter is, but you know how it is with these promoters. Look, you can beat them, but you know we control when you get your next fight. You're not gonna fight. You're not gonna be fighting Canelo if that's what you think is gonna happen. That ain't gonna happen. You can sell
Canelo versus Murata just as easily as you can sell Canelo versus Triple G. Triple G is 40 years old and he's never been popular here. You can hype Murata and sell that fight just as easily as a third Triple G fight that nobody wants.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Triple G has 2 fights with Canelo that were good fights, and they sold well. And I think a third one, that's more. I don't think Murata will sell more than a third Triple G. Like
it was a long time ago. Triple G fights. Triple G is 40 years old. Don't nobody want to see Canelo fight a 40-year-old man.
But Triple G still he's not as popular, but he still has an established name here. Murata he's just a guy, man.
Murata is going to establish his name when he beats Triple G.
Triple G, I'll say this. Triple G needs to make this a quick fight to help them sell the third Canelo fight. Because I agree with you on that, B. Like, it's been a while. Like, Triple G has lost that luster. You know what I mean? And I mean, people are going to watch. Right? I'm going to watch if he faces Canelo, but
we'll see if they put it on. If they kind of do a DAZN pay-per-view, I ain't watching.
Oh well, yeah, and you know that's what's coming. You know that's going to come.
Man, I watched his last fight too, man. You could tell Triple G he lost a step.
Yeah, he don't have it. He don't have it, and I think he wants Triple G he wants Canelo so bad, right? That I mean, clearly, right? He's signing or in talks for that fight now before this fight even takes place. So
yes, he has.
Overlooking someone is never good, right?
Yeah.
But he wants that fight so bad because he feels he was robbed and he feels whatever the case may be. But it for the boxing world and for them to sell it, he better make do with this guy. He better get him out of there early. It's gonna be 7:30 in the morning over here. So, he knock him out early. People won't miss it. People will just be having their first cup of coffee, whatever. We'll see it on Twitter. Cool. Then they could sell the Canelo fight.
I feel this.
Man said he gonna be out there on E Street with Khabib. Never pay, brother.
I'll see you on E Street as well, Maddie.
E Street, baby.
Well, hold on. Wait, is this on DAZN?
Yeah, it's DAZN.
No, it's gonna be on
DAZN. Oh, okay. We're good.
We've already got that. They already fleeced us for that year-long subscription. Not a shout out to DAZN. Screw DAZN.
No, right? Shout out to DAZN because they need to sponsor us. Okay.
No, listen. We are on the side of the people. And when you came out and you said, "Hey, we are," you subscribe and you just get to see the fights of the fighters that we have signed.
We could do a whole nother podcast on what DAZN did. This is
definitely, yeah.
But that's a great deal. But you can't turn around and say, "Oh, Canelo, that one fighter that you signed up for, yeah, that's gonna cost you."
Yeah, give us money.
But it's gonna cost you. We're gonna give you a discount, right? A discount of
Right.
What was it? It was
It's
60 for paying members.
$60 if you're already subscribed. That ain't no discount.
There is a I reference this a lot every time I talk about like these companies scamming us, right? I reference it to B all the time. It's this scene from The Sopranos where his muscle that came from Italy. What was his name? Furio, right? He goes to collect some money for Tony Soprano. He goes to the guy's apartment or whatever. The guy gives him the money, right? And he shakes him down. He's like, "Yo, like pay up." He's like, "Okay, here you go." And he goes, "Give me $100." And he's like, "For what? I gave you everything's there. I gave you all the money." He goes, "Give me $100." And the man gives him $100. He just takes it, puts it in his pocket, and walks away. Like that's what the zone is doing right now. I'm going to get that clip every time we talk about these companies getting over on us. I'm going to play that clip. Like for what? Because give it to me. That's why. That's all it is. Just give it to me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. The zone is going to be busy this weekend, man. They not only do they have the Triple G fight, they have the Garcia fight as well later that night. So they'll be busy.
Yeah. Wait, how did they route Teofimo? The ones that route to oh, you're talking about was that what the fight was on? Was that on the zone where he fought Kambosos?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. The one, where he got robbed. Yes.
Yeah.
He stood there with his face half swollen like Martin, talking about
I think I won the fight.
He said, I think I won like 10, maybe 11 of them rounds.
He said it with a straight face.
Like,
the crowd gasped when he said the score.
Right. Clearly you weren't.
He's like 10-2. Everybody's
10-2.
like, what?
They were like, oh my God, get that.
Yeah. Clearly you don't know where you are right now, buddy.
He's concussed. Get him out of here.
That's another fight coming up. George Kambosos is going to be taking on Devin Haney.
Yes.
Now that Lomachenko is out of that fight back in Ukraine. That's another one I'm feeling the upset. I think Kambosos takes him out. I think he's going to hurt and drop Devin Haney, and I think he wins a unanimous decision.
Wow.
I think the opposite. I think Devin Haney is going to work Kambosos. Kambosos was at the right place at the right time and caught Teofimo lacking, man, and he still almost got knocked out. Right, let's just be real about it.
Hey, Devin almost got knocked out against Linares too.
He did. But yeah, look, Linares ain't no slouch either, right? But I think for Devin Haney, he was worrying too much about trying to show his knockout power. I think this fight, because it's a chance for him to get a belt. Hey, what's going on at MDT Sports? I think it's a chance for him to get a belt and kind of put himself, establish himself a little bit more. He's going to go in there just the most focused he's ever been, and he's not going to worry about trying to showboat, not trying to get the knockout, and just fight his fight. And I think he's a more skilled fighter than Kambosos, and he's going to work him. I think he's going to work him.
You have Haney winning, Derek. He's got a round robin of boxing bets going on over the next, I guess, couple months.
What's your take, Mikey?
I'm leaning Haney, right? And that's for a couple of reasons. But one of the main reasons is I, admittedly so, don't know enough about Kambosos. I watched him beat Teofimo. But before that, I'm not gonna lie. Going into that fight, I thought Tagoe was gonna kill him.
Yeah.
Right.
So
yeah. So I don't know enough about Kambosos to say, I think Kambosos is gonna win. But I've seen enough to know that Kambosos is that type of fighter, that's just annoying enough to give you a hard time in the ring.
Yeah.
And the last few fights from Haney, I saw some things that he needs to clean up, and that concerns me with him. So when you in there with a fighter that is annoying, right? That you give him everything you got and he won't go away. Anything can happen in those type of fights when it turns ugly like that, and that's what clearly Kambosos wants to do. He wants to muck the fight up. He wants to. So I'm giving the edge to Haney because I do think he's the more skilled fighter. But I wouldn't be surprised if he lost. But I will say this is the fight that I would have rather seen. I think I want to see this over Kambosos and Loma, the great height.
Yeah.
Man, just disrespect. He's fighting for his life and everyone over there.
Very admirable. Very admirable.
That is very admirable.
We talking about boxing though.
He would have worked Kambosos.
Yeah, I think so. I look, I don't think Loma's a bad fighter, right? I just think he's a little overrated. That's all. And I think Kambosos, we're gonna find out when it's all said that Kambosos ain't on these guys' level. I don't think he's on Haney's level either. Right.
I don't think he's on Haney's level skill wise. I just think that Haney, every time he goes out to the ring, he thinks it's a pillow fighting championship, and it never is.
I think that Jojo Diaz fight got him prepared for this one. That was a tough fight for him, and I like the way he responded. I know, I know, man. I'm sorry. He's an excellent fighter. He is. I just, like they were talking about pound for pound greatest, one of the greatest ever. Oh, Floyd could never. And it's just
now he got the same record as Ryoto Murata.
They disrespected Lomo by doing that.
They
by
did.
Putting him in the top of the pound for pound list. He already had a loss at that time. It's like
his first fight was a loss. Like, come on, man.
It's
what
like,
we
come on,
about?
bro. Like, don't do that to
no,
this guy.
I think it was a second.
Oh, a second fight. Yeah.
And he is a good fighter. I think he is a good fighter. But I think when you do that type of stuff, you leave these guys open for little shots like that we've thrown at him over the last couple of minutes. But hey, shout out to that guy, man, because on a deeper level, like you guys said, fighting for your home. I got all respect for that. So
all the respect, man. Shout out to them, man. Shout out to the Klitschko's.
Usyk is over there as well.
Listen, man.
This is how like Americans need some more realistic movies, man, because like this is the kind of lineup that would have won the war already in an American movie.
yeah.
And then like Americans think that's just how it goes.
Yeah,
like that's how it is.
Yeah, they definitely would. They definitely would have. They would have saved the day for sure in a movie. Yeah.
So okay, look. There are a lot of fights coming up. We're gonna be busy on the Ring Kings channel. So if you're new here, make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you're watching on Lunch Break Hot Take, thank you for coming through. Hit that like button. Also go over to the Ring Kings podcast channel and hit that subscribe. We are streaming live on both channels right now. And we're going to be talking about all these upcoming fights. Next week is Spence versus Ugas, right? We're going to get into that in a second. We got Canelo coming up here a couple weeks. The Usyks out now. Yeah, Usyk's out now.
Easy paycheck coming his way. About Anthony Joshua.
I
thought that was a great fight the first time around. I think it's going to be easier for Usyk the second time.
I don't think so. I think it's going to be another tough fight. Joshua, he knows how to respond. I mean, he's a good fighter. He's a good fighter.
He's a looks the part champ.
I don't know. I think the fight's going to be close the second time around. But before we get into these upcoming fights, because we got Fury fighting Dillian White. Yeah, Canelo fighting Bivol. Like I said, next week Ugas and Spence. Like we got all these. But I want to talk about a fight that just happened. And me and Mikey talked about it earlier, and it made us raise questions about who the next Felix Trinidad will be. Which Puerto Rican fighter is going to step up be the next Felix Trinidad?
Is it the Puerto Rican or the dude from New York? I'm going with the Puerto Rican.
They're both Puerto Rican. Okay, they're both Puerto Rican.
I'm going with the Puerto Rican who delivers every time he goes out there in Xander's eyes.
Yeah, okay. Look, we got two fighters, young fighters, both young fighters. Yeah. Xander's eyes only 19 years old. My word.
Xander has superstar written all over him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, only 19. But look, he didn't have a good showing, right? But Edgar Berlanga, he's only 24. right?
Mm-hmm.
That's they're both super young, and Berlanga got too much hype in my opinion because he was on a knockout streak, first round knockout, back to back to back to back to back to back, which is impressive. And he clearly got the power, but we known from then that he was going to take years to develop. He still had a lot to work on, and he's starting to show those things now. And look, his last fight wasn't he didn't look great. He showed a lot, but that despite what Timothy Bradley said, because Timothy Bradley is a classic hater, right? Timothy Bradley, despite what he says, there's still a lot of upside for Berlanga. It's just going to take some time. I think for both of them, like Xander's eyes looks great, but he's nowhere near ready to fight for a title. I mean, he's still a kid.
No, he's still fighting. What is it, 8 rounders?
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about 3-4 years down the line for these guys before we really can see what maybe more, right? Like 4 years from now, Xander's eye is still gonna be younger than Edgar Berlanga now. He is a kid, but he looks great. He looks great. So look, okay, Mikey, Berlanga, we had some mixed feelings about him. He took on our boy, Damon Nicholson. I think Damon, even though he didn't come out with the win, he was the first person to really start to expose Edgar Berlanga.
And he's looking for that rematch.
He's looking for the rematch, man.
He won it. Listen, I told Damon, after that, like, he set the blueprint, right? Damon was that guy who was the first that lasted the whole fight against him and all of that, right? But he also exposed some weaknesses in Berlanga's game, right? And like we discussed earlier, I think he tries to what got him to headlining a fight was the hype around him. What did he start? 19-0, 19 knockouts or something like that?
16.
16.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Right. So, that's what got him there. And that's what's going to ultimately get him paid, right? And everybody wants to see that. They want to see the flashy fight, the knockouts. And clearly he's been pressing the last 3 fights since he fought Damon. He's been pressing to knock these guys out. And in one fight, he got caught and he got knocked down himself. He rebounded and ended up winning the fight. He's won all the fights since then, right?
Yeah.
But he just hasn't looked great. And but Tim Bradley called him the great height, and and I don't agree with that quite yet. He did come with a lot of hype behind him, but he's 24 years old, man. 24 years old. And I think he has the tools to be a good fighter, right? He just has to learn or get with somebody, get with a team that'll teach him how to use those skills along with that great power that he has. But I agree with you guys. I think Xander Zayas is going to leapfrog Berlanga, right? And become that star that Top Rank was looking for. That they thought they had in Berlanga, but I think Zayas is going to be that guy.
Yeah, and Zayas is a showman. He knows, he has that kind of sense of the moment. He knows he's putting on a performance for the audience and everything. With Berlanga, I mean, particularly in his last fight, he fought Steve Rolls, who's a very, very experienced, old fighter. But he was in there with Triple G as well. He got knocked out after 4, but he's a long time fighter. So he, and we look at Berlanga, like you say, he's 24 years old. But in his 19, 20 fights so far, he doesn't have very many rounds. In his first 16 fights, he has fewer than 16 total rounds.
Yeah.
And then when he fought Damon, that one, I believe that was an 8-rounder as well.
Yeah.
So 17 fights, 24 rounds, right? And it's been kind of building up a little bit there, but he doesn't have that in-ring experience. And there's a lot of stuff that he hasn't seen, that he hasn't dealt with. Rolls was really controlling him with the jab. And it's just, he had a really difficult time. And I think that's something that you normally, I think all prospects go through that, but you normally don't see it because it happens very early on. But Berlanga's got the spotlight on him because of that power and because of all those knockouts. And so now, you're expecting that kind of show every time out there, and he's stepping up in competition, and it's getting a bit more difficult, and he doesn't have the experience to deal with it yet. But I think, like you said, I think he'll be fine. they give him the time that he needs, he'll be just fine.
That's the question. Will they give him the time? Because we knew this from early when we first started watching them. The problem that they're going to run into is how do you find opponents for him that can withstand his power, give him good work, but also not that aren't really able to beat him, right? Yes, he's got a lot of natural power. He's putting people out. Guys that they think they can give him, they can give him good work, but he's not going to be in any danger. He's just knocking them out. But okay, now you're not getting the experience. But you take him to the next level. Those guys are a little bit more dangerous, and he's not quite there yet. So they're having that tough time because there's a lot of things that he needs to work on, and you can see it already. He's just relying on his power because it's easier. And they're trying to, I could tell they're trying to get him to work on those fundamentals. Because Andezai is yes, he has that showmanship in the ring, but he does everything his corner tells him to do.
Yep.
Well, I was going to say maybe they should have considered telling him don't punch so hard this time. maybe go out there 80%,
work on some things.
Make sure this guy gets out of the first round and you can get some rounds.
Right.
Work on the things that we're telling you to work on. Don't just try to go in there and go for the knockout. Work on the things that we're telling you to work on. So it becomes second nature. So when you just can't go in and knock somebody out, you're not panicking because my one punch ain't working. Like you can you got some other tools in the box, so to speak. Right. So like I said, all the time in the world. Too early to call him a hype job. Timothy Bradley he's just
Timothy Bradley's not a great announcer.
Tim went real hard on the young boy. I was actually surprised he went that hard on him like that, man.
But you know what? Andre Ward went pretty hard on him too. And Andre is not really. He's not the hater like Timothy.
But Ward went hard, but Ward wasn't really. He wasn't ready to write him off though.
Yeah.
Like Tim was saying, yo. He calls himself the chosen one. I'm calling him whatever he called him, what did he say? He called him something like the phony one. He was calling him the phony one, and it's like, damn.
Yeah, that's a little harsh too. But you know what though? They're not mad at Berlanga. They're mad at ESPN. ESPN always does this for top ranked fights. ESPN will lead you to believe that every fighter that's under Bob Arum is the greatest fighter of all time. Right. And they overhype everybody. They're going to do the same thing to Ali's grandson here soon. I can't remember his name. I just remember he's Ali's grandson because they say it every single time.
But he wants to make sure
Ali Welsh or whatever.
Ali Welsh, not because of who his grandfather is.
But I'm just going to wear his trunks. I'm going to let you know that
he's fighting soon too.
Yeah. His nickname is The Legacy Continues, but I want to do it on my own. I don't want to do it off my grandfather's name. Hey, by the way, did you know that I'm Ali's grandson? Okay, you knew that. Okay, cool.
I don't take it off of his name. Who? Muhammad.
Hey, shout out to Nitro. Nitro says Floyd is top 3 easy. Hey, you know what, Nitro? If you're on the Ring Kings channel, which you should be subscribed, there's a playlist there, 25 all time greatest. Right? Floyd's on that list. Where did he rank? You have to check it out. Oh,
so Nico Ali Welsh is fighting.
Nico.
He's fighting on the Stevenson Valdez card.
Okay.
4 rounds.
I'll tune in late. I'm good.
Stevenson Valdez is another good fight to watch, man. Valdez, him taking out Burchelt was a very impressive win. Very impressive knockout.
That was hard to watch.
And listen,
I watched the replay a lot.
I don't think, they all these boxing and UFC can do a much better job selling fights, man. I feel like you don't see this promotion nearly enough. I mean, that was a great knockout that he had. Like you should be showing that. You should be showing Stevenson's highlights more. Like you can sell this a lot better than what they're doing. That's going to be a very good fight. But yeah, Ali's grandson, man, I have no opinion of him at this point, man. Like early in his career. Yeah, I've seen a couple of his fights. Whatever, like that. I mean, I don't see anything that stands out. But he's young too, and he's got time to develop, and they're going to handle him with kid gloves for a long time. You're not going to see him fight anybody.
He's gonna be like Chavez Jr. It's gonna be
yes.
You know, he's gonna be like 53-0 before he fights anybody.
Yeah, and you know, he may not go to Chavez Jr. route. He might actually have some heart, but you know, it's going to be a while before we
throwing a lot of shots tonight.
Totally unnecessary.
Speaking of Chavez Jr., the last guy to beat the brakes off of him, Spider Silva, he's got another fight coming up too.
I keep getting confused because when you keep saying Chavez Jr. and I think you're talking about Canelo, the man he wanted to be his son. But, my bad.
Canelo, my son.
But yeah.
Well, listen. Nico Welsh is better than Ricky Hatton's son.
Oh, well, no, Ricky. Wait, Ricky Hatton. Oh no! It wasn't. He didn't win.
Did he lose? Did he lose his pro debut?
I think he did. Yeah.
That wasn't his debut. I think that was his third or fourth fight.
Oh, okay. I remember
there's a lot of sons
talking about it, saying he looked really bad.
Yes. Yeah. You know what I was thinking about for a second? I was thinking about Casazu's son, who got knocked down but came back and won the fight.
That's right.
Yeah, he came back and won the fight.
Because Tim is for real, unlike Shane Mosley Jr.
Man, you know we get old, man. There's a lot of juniors out there.
I hate it. It's like when you used to play 2K and you get the computer generated draft class and it's all, oh yeah, here's Tim Duncan Jr. and all like, nah, man, no, just give me some different names. I don't want it.
Well, guess what? You get to see Shane Mosley Jr. fight on the Ryan Garcia card.
I saw Shane Mosley Jr. fight before.
I'll tune in late.
Shane he's a solid fighter. He's
not bad. He's all right.
Never.
I got a problem with Ricky Hatton.
And we didn't say anything about Ricky Hatton. We said about Ricky Hatton's son. His son sucks. Ricky's fine.
Yeah, look, Shane Mosley Jr. is not going to be anything special either, but he's a solid fighter.
Yeah, he's solid. He's solid.
So next week we got the Errol Spence and Yordenis Ugas fight. I just wanted to get real quick how you guys think that fight's going to go.
Spence whips his a slow beating though, like one of those ones where he wins 10 rounds.
Okay. Yeah, but you think it's going to go decision?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I think it's going to be a little bit closer. I think it's going to be like 8-4. 8-4.
Okay.
Ugas is nice, man. Ugas is nice.
He's a good fighter. Shakur Stevenson was just talking about it. He thinks that Spence is going to win pretty easily. I think it's going to be one of those fights where when you look at the scorecards, it looks like a blowout, but when you watch the fight, it looks competitive. There'll be some fairly close rounds, but Spence is winning all of the rounds, and at the end of the fight, he's won. Like you said, 10, 11, 12 rounds. But it looked like a competitive fight. It better go that way because I'm going to be really mad if we don't get Spence and Crawford.
I really hate that Spence didn't get to fight Pacquiao. That was a blown opportunity, man. Yeah. Like, hey, he went in there and took care of business against Pacquiao. That would have catapulted him over these other guys.
Yeah. I was really looking forward to that fight. I really was. Yeah. Just because I wanted to see Pac lose, but
wow.
I mean, look. I mean, you got to give him props. Like, he took out Keith Thurman, who's an excellent fighter.
Yeah,
he beat him, and he looked like he didn't really lose a step. Right, he looked good in the fight. And if Spence came in there and beat him, took that belt away, and that puts Spence on the map.
Yeah,
But Ugas doing it. It doesn't hit the same.
So I think we were at a little over an hour. I think we can go ahead and get out of here. But I want to leave on again quick predictions. I know this isn't your thing, Mikey, but we got a big UFC event this weekend. UFC 273. Alexander Volkanovski against the Korean zombie Chan Sung Young. Really disrespectful that they don't say his name more often. Also Aljamain Sterling against Petr Yan, and Gilbert Burns versus Chimaev.
So let's break it down for Mikey real quick. Since look, this is perfect. If you're not a UFC fan, that's fine, right? Like, I mean, it's the fight game still.
Give me the zombie
just a note,
I'm taking the zombie guy.
Kelvin Gastelum was fighting on this card and is now out. He pulled out of that fight due to, I believe, illness. So
Gastelum?
Yeah. Starting with Burns and Chimaev. Burns is a good, solid fighter. You may have seen him, Mike. What you've probably seen from Burns is him getting knocked out by Kamaru Usman in devastating fashion. Like he steamrolled him. But he is a good, solid fighter. Chimaev is kind of he's the Xander Zayas of the group. He's that next superstar. It looks like, he's had several fights, not big time fights, but I mean, he's not even getting touched in these fights. He's knocking people out and not even getting hit. I mean, literally. So that one, I'm gonna have to take Chimaev, man. I like Gilbert, but I don't see him stopping the train.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna take Burns, man. Like, these are the fights that I don't like that UFC does. Chimaev looks really good. He looks really good. But not a lot of fights, not a lot of experience. And yes, Burns lost to the best in the business. He lost to Usman. Nobody's beating Usman right now. Mm-hmm. Nobody, right? So Burns losing to Usman doesn't mean anything.
Somebody gonna beat Burns though.
But listen, it can happen. But if
too soon. It's too soon.
It's too soon, in my opinion. Look, I could be completely wrong, and it wouldn't surprise me if Chimaev won, right? Like, yes, Burns is the underdog, like Matty Gunn is pointing out, right? But Burns ain't no slouch, man. Like, going into that Usman fight, like people were kind of, hey man, this is dangerous for Usman. Burns has excellent ground game. He can strike, man. Like, he's powerful. Chimaev, this is one of those things where if Chimaev loses, it derails him before he even gets started. This are the things I don't like about what UFC does. Like, you put these guys out there way too early against these top fighters. Like, what's your rush?
They have a history of hype jobs in the UFC.
And I don't think Chimaev is a hype job, for the record. But yeah,
I don't think he is either. But they do have a history of putting guys, even current heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou. He was out there knocking guys out. He was a phenomenon, and they put him in way too early with Stipe, and Stipe completely dominated him in their first fight.
Yeah.
Now, credit to Francis. He went back to work. He improved. He came back and obviously beat Stipe. He's the champ now. But they do that a lot in the UFC. I don't really like it. But so I mean, I think Chimaev gets that. I don't like 7-1 underdog. I think that's a little excessive. But I think Chimaev gets that win. Next up.
Well, hold on. Mikey, with the information given to you, who do you pick?
I want to go with the young boy.
Chimaev.
The Xander guy.
Okay, Chimaev.
The Xander clone.
Okay. All right.
I'm going to skip over this next one and go straight to the main event. Alexander Volkanovski against Chan Sung Young, the Korean zombie. He's stepping in for Max Holloway, who got injured and had to pull out of the fight literally the day after they announced it. Very, very disappointing. Wow. That was going to be the third time they fought. Two amazing fights. But this one I think should be entertaining. They call him the Korean zombie. He's about that action. All right.
He about that action, boss.
Not about that defense very much. And I don't think that's going to serve him well against Volkanovski.
So let me ask you guys this, right? And I'm gonna say this as well. So once we get to 100 subscribers, I am going to become one of the biggest UFC fans. So it's on the watchers and the subscribers to get me there. That's one. But so you said that the guy backed out. Oh,
saving him for last.
We're saving him for last. Daddy.
he had to back out. He had to back out due to injury. So why doesn't UFC like push back these events? Like, why would you? If that's the main fight that people are looking for.
So because here's why. Like, unlike the difference between boxing and UFC in terms of how they sell the pay-per-views is UFC sells you a package deal, right?
Okay.
So like, Aljamain Sterling, like Matty Gunner brought up, he's fighting Peter Yan. That's for a title. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Chimaev and Burns isn't for a title, but they're popular fighters, right? it's not uncommon to see 3 title fights sometimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Usually you'll have a main event, co-main event. It's usually 2, but sometimes you can have a 3 title fights. But it is uncommon to have 3, but it's happened before.
Yeah.
But that's what they do. They have these package deals, so like it's more than just one big fight. Whereas boxing, you're there to see one guy. Like you can have a decent undercard, but the undercard is not selling the fight. It's the main event. So if it has to get pushed back, then they push it back. But not so much in the UFC. So if one guy can't go, even if it's in the main event, the replacement comes in and keep it moving. Yeah. Now the Korean Zombie, if he was like 10 years younger, this could be interesting, right? Because he got that name because you're not gonna knock him out, right? It doesn't matter how much punishment he takes, he's gonna keep coming at you. But he's just a guy now, and he's a guy that should be retired, for being honest.
Just harsh.
Still a game fighter, but I mean, like, man, I don't want to watch that. I don't. Well, Volkanovski is a bad man, He's a bad man.
Yes. Volkanovski. Just to paint a little picture for you, Mike. I know you're not familiar with him. He fought Ortega recently, and Ortega put him in a chokehold and held him there, choking.
Turned his head purple.
And then his arms got tired and he had to let him go, and Volkanovski hopped up and
started beating the brakes off of him.
Immediately resumed pounding him.
His corner had to pick him up.
Everybody watching that fight at the end of it was like, I you know what, Ortega, it's fine. I don't even know what you could have done.
Right.
He had that chokehold locked in.
Maddie's taking the zombie.
Oh, okay. Maddie's taking the zombie. Okay. Oh,
I'm going to take
like
Volkanovski. I'm going to take Volkanovski by I'm going to take him by knockout.
I don't think it's gonna be my knockout. I don't think it's gonna be my knockout. I think submission. Not knockout.
I can't go against a guy who basically died and then woke up and beat him again. So, yeah, I'm gonna go with that guy.
All right, man, Matty Gunner, we're gonna give you all the props, all the shout outs in the world if the Korean Zombie does it.
Yes, I hope he does. I'm not a big fan of Volkanovski, and it's not anything to do with him. Like, he's fine. He's a great fighter. He seems like he's pretty entertaining and everything. But I think he lost both fights to Max Holloway, and I really like
me too.
Holloway. So now I don't like Volkanovski. That's just
I think he really lost that second one. That second one, I was like, "What were you guys watching?" But you know what I like about Volkanovski, man? Like, after that last fight, they asked him like, "Yo, how do you do what you do?" He's like, "Listen, man, there is nothing special about me." He was just like, if you're thinking about doing this, you can do it. Like, he's like, just work hard. Now, it's not true, but it's a great sentiment.
Right.
You cannot be like Volkanovski, but I like that humbleness about him. Like, he's a down to earth dude.
He sounded real good.
He said anybody can do it. I'm like, nah, bro, we can't all hold our breath like that.
Yeah,
we can't all go without oxygen.
I would have been sleeping. I'd have been sleeping. In fact, I tell people this all the time, man. Like, if I were ever in a MMA match, the minute you get me on the ground, I'm going to scream, "We had a deal," and then I'm going to tap out immediately. Okay,
you get me in a position like that. There's no trying to escape. No, man, the fight's over. It's fine. 200-pound rugby league player.
I can believe it. Yep, I can believe it.
Yeah, he looks like he has a rock head. I can believe that. So moving on to the hands down the most entertaining fight on this card, hands down. Petr Yan, who is the former bantamweight champion, dirty cheater, going up against Aljamain Sterling, who is, there's a lot you can say about Aljamain, but I'll say this. Okay, so when Yan had the belt, Aljamain Sterling was trying to get a title shot. They put him in with Corey Sandhagen, who was kind of I don't want to say up and coming, but he had a lot of buzz at that time, a lot of heat. Aljamain went in and completely dominated Sandhagen, won the fight pretty easily. I believe it was in the first round, maybe second, but he won easily. So they set up Aljamain Sterling and Petr Yan, big time fight, a lot of hype around it. the night comes and Aljamain looks like I don't know if you remember this guy, Mikey. He looked like Bruce Seldon when he was coming out for the Mike Tyson fight. He had that kind of nervous energy. Now Bruce had it because he was about to lay down.
Right.
Aljamain had that energy because I think he was just overexcited. He was he had the adrenaline going way too early. I think he burned himself out very early in that fight, and he was getting beat. Which brings us to the end of the fight. He was down on his knees because he was getting beat, and Petr Yan is standing in front of him. And I don't know why he would do this, but in Hollywood fashion, he kind of turned to his corner looking for the finish him sign, and the corner said, "Yeah, knee him in the face." And he turned around and kneed him in the face, which is illegal. He got disqualified. He lost the belt. Aljamain Sterling is the champion, and Aljamain has been chilling ever since. He is not trying to fight. He's obviously he's had some injuries and things like that. But
I say he won the UFC title and Best Actor in the same night. Put him in the Hall of Fame.
Listen, man.
He pulled a reverse Chris Rock. No, he took the slap and he brought home the title.
We're not gonna go there, Maddie. All right, look. Now, was there some acting going on? Possibly. Probably. He took the knee to the head. He laid down and he's rolling. I mean, it hurts, right? You got kneed in the head. They gave Aljamain a lot of time and a lot of encouragement to continue that fight. And Aljamain said, "Nah." He rolled around. He pretended like he was getting up. He laid back down. But you know what? They shouldn't have put him in that position. It's illegal. Just disqualify him and end the match.
Listen. Now, to be fair, Maddie, right? You're talking to three Americans who we watch American football. In American football, you win by any means necessary, right? There's no such thing as, it's Bush League. You shouldn't do that. Unwritten rules. If it's legal, you do it. Yes. And Aljamain Sterling found a way to win that fight. He won it. Okay? Look, Petr Yan, control your emotions. Control yourself, right? You need me in the face. Hey, you know what? I can't go, bro. Sorry. Yeah. Yep. Give me that belt now. I'll take it. Back to the drawing board. We'll figure out something for the next fight.
I wouldn't even have acted. I would have said, no, I'm fine. He need me in the face, and this fight is over.
And you know what else?
Do your job, ref.
Listen, I wouldn't even give him a rematch. Like, no, you got to work your way back up to me. Nope. I'm not fighting you right now. I need to work on some things.
That's the beautiful thing about boxing. And the classic mistake that Montel Griffin made. He got that DQ win over Roy Jones and got back in the ring with Roy Jones. He should have never.
He should duck that. Yeah,
I'd have dropped the belt before I jumped back in the ring with him.
Roy Jones would have had to see me in a back alley somewhere if he wanted to throw hands with me again. That was never going to happen.
I'll tell you why, Maddie. Maddie says he was posting on his IG story in the club an hour later. How you gonna be all concussed and go out partying? First of all, when you're not supposed to go to sleep. You're supposed to stay up. Come on, man. Okay? Loud music make your head more concussed. Okay, look, maybe he told him to turn it down a little bit. I don't know. Listen, and clubs are dark too. Okay, so
because he had a concussion doesn't mean he wasn't aware of the fact that he just became the bantamweight champion of the world.
So with that being said, I think Petr Yan's gonna crush him.
Again, I'm going with the upset in this one as well. I think Aljamain is gonna pull off the upset. I think he's gonna shock the world. I thought he was gonna win that first fight. I think he's not gonna make that same mistake of getting too hyped up coming into the fight, and I think he's gonna take it.
Listen. If the Korean Zombie wins and Aljamain Sterling wins, this is going to be
the event ever.
Our live stream. This is going to be a live stream. We're going to have a crazy live stream. We'll be here at 2:00 in the morning, completely wired. If this happens, man,
it'll be like when Rose caught Zhang Weili with that head kick. I couldn't sleep.
Yo, like Thank you. Most scientists right here. I jumped out my seat when Rose hit Zhang Weili in the head, and knocked her out. I was stunned because like when she kicked her, it was kind of a delayed response, and she finished her. I was like, yo, she did it because Zhang Weili looked like she wasn't a fight that could be beat, and even more impressive in the rematch, she just straight up beat her.
Yeah, another. It was a great fight, but yeah, I mean, look, I had Zhang winning the fight, but it was close. I don't have a problem with the decision, but man, unbelievable.
That first one, I was just like, man, I don't know, man. I like Rose and all, but I didn't think she could do it. And she knocked her out. I was like, wow. I jumped. I was like, yo, she did it. That was my favorite UFC card ever. Because that was the one where Usman knocked the spit out of what's his name? Masvidal, right?
Yeah, I do remember that, Maddie. I wrote an article about how ridiculous it was that she called out Nunes.
I don't remember that one at all. I don't even know what you're talking about right now. I don't know.
Nunes is going to break her if they get back in the cage.
They're supposed to be having a rematch, right?
We'll see. I don't know.
Hey, look, I hate it, man. Nunes is one of my favorite fighters of all time. Period.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any problem with Pena. I mean, congrats to her for winning it. She called it. She's like, she's scared of me. She don't want no part of me. I'm gonna beat her. I was like, all right, Juliana, calm down.
I got no problem with anybody.
That's exactly how it went.
I got no problem with anybody backing up the trash talk, none whatsoever. So I mean, I'm disappointed that Amanda lost because that's one of my favorite fighters. But all the props to Pena. Yeah, all the props. If you can back up your trash talking, good. I love it. It makes it more entertaining. Okay, Mikey.
100 subscribers, and I'm gonna get in the UFC.
Peter Yan or Aljamain Sterling?
Aljamain Sterling or the dirty cheater?
So the first guy is the one that need him in the face, right?
Yeah.
Yan need Aljamain in the face.
Okay.
I'm gonna throw this out there, not that it matters, because it doesn't sound like it. But Aljamain is black.
give me Aljamain. Book it for Aljamain.
listen. That's the reason why I picked him the first time. After seeing his performance, I can't double down on you.
That's right. Coaching the Ultimate Fighter together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, give me that. Give me the brother. Yeah.
Listen, what's going on in Graven? Listen, he probably gonna lose, but I'm not picking it that way.
And when is this fight? Saturday?
It's tomorrow.
Saturday,
yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna be busy tomorrow. We're gonna be busy.
Tomorrow's Friday.
Yeah,
tomorrow.
Friday.
I mean Friday.
Yeah. We ain't been here that long, man.
No. I know, not yet. It's gonna be a busy night or busy day Saturday because
cannot believe you, Mikey.
Hey, give me the bro, man. You know, hey.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna have something for both channels. We're gonna have a live stream at some point during the day for Ring Kings, and we'll probably be covering this UFC thing for lunch break hot take.
Man,
all right,
slow down. We'll see.
Listen. We have to do something to wash that bad taste off of mouth out for that Covington and Masvidal debacle.
That was gross.
If we're going to live stream for that, we gotta come back and live stream for this.
You won't fight him in the cage, but you'll put on the hoodie and mask and jump out of a bush and attack him. and I just feel disgusted that you got me saying that about Colby Covington.
Yeah.
Because you got two professional fighters, one of them attacking from the bushes, and then the other one getting punched and running to find the nearest police officer.
Yeah, calling the cops.
Yeah.
Both fighters disgust me. All right, and look, I was hoping they both lost, but one had to win, I guess. You mean you're not picking the Russian? Listen, man, I think Peter Yan. I'm pulling for Sterling, but I can't get conscious pick him to win. Like he had nothing for Peter Yan.
I'm taking out the man.
All right. Okay, so those are our main picks. Gastelum is not fighting. Who was he supposed to fight?
A couple people actually, but it was hold on, let me pull it back up here. I already went off the page. It's not important.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He's fighting nobody now. He's fighting nobody.
Yeah, he's not fighting.
All right. Okay. So I think we'll end it there. You're going to be seeing a lot of us. Subscribe to both channels. If you're not subscribed to Ring Kings, take a second and subscribe to Ring Kings podcast. We're trying to hit 100 real quick. You're gonna be seeing a lot of content. There's a lot of matches. We haven't even scratched the surface on the fights coming up, man. There's so many fights coming up, and you're gonna be seeing us talking about it in one way or another. Got the UFC event coming up on Saturday. And of course, every Wednesday here on Lunch Break Hot Take, 7:15 p.m. we give you the show. And barring any other breaking news, any major news, which we don't expect, you'll see us a little bit on Saturday and then on the Wednesday show. So any last words, fellas?
I do want to say this. So, of course, on the boxing side of it, the Triple G fight, Ryan Garcia fight, those are the most popular fights. But there is a fight on Showtime, which I think will probably be the best card of the night, which will feature Erickson the Hammer Lubin.
Yes.
Versus Sebastian Fundora, which I think is going to be the best fight of the night. And even on the undercard of that, Tony Harrison, who some may remember him for being one of the Charlo twins, he'll be fighting Sergio Garcia. So I think that will be a good fight. But definitely, if you get a chance, check out Erickson Lubin. And then to shout out the ladies, man, we have what's her name? Michaela Mayer and Jennifer Hahn. They're headlining the card on ESPN Plus. Nice. So check out the ladies too. But
a lot of combat going on this weekend.
Yes, a lot of fights going on.
Was it next week? Next week is Serrano and
that's a few weeks. That's the same weekend as Shakur Stevenson and Valdez.
The same night.
Gotcha.
Same night.
Okay. So lots coming up. Yes, you're getting your content. B, any
I do want to say, I got Matty Gunner. Thanks for staying up. He's over in England there. So it's late.
Shout out to you, man. And Shaheen, shout out to Shaheen. Shaheen is over where? Iran? Is that where he's at?
I believe so.
Yeah.
But Maddie's
overseas.
Shadow of Azrael does have their new EP coming out. Is tomorrow, I guess today for Maddie. That's hitting all of the digital, the streaming platforms. So definitely go check that out.
Indeed.
Appreciate
all right,
you,
we'll end it there, man. Thanks everybody for hanging out with us, and we will see you soon. Do we want to do an outro? Or we want to close it out? Because I don't know, this is a crossover. Look, when we hit 100 subscribers, you're gonna be seeing an intro for Ring Kings podcast. You're gonna be seeing an outro for Ring Kings podcast. Like, look, we got a lot in store for both channels. So just hit us with our outro, I guess. B, are you ready?
Well, you just said it, so not yet. Now I am.
All right, y'all have a good night, and we will see you shortly. Peace out.
Peace out.